Content warning. This episode contains discussions of child loss, including conversations around stillbirth and the grief that follows. Listener discretion is advised. And that week that you spent with Evan, what's something that you could share about a moment that you had with him?
Oh, it was just, we would go every day and we would get just a brief, like an hour to hold him. They would pick him up. He was attached to so many machines, and it would take a team to put him in my arms for me to be able to hold him without disrupting his machines. We had teddy bears. We had twin teddy bears. One was mine and one was his. And his teddy bear had my daughter's voice when she'd said, "I love you, Evan." And then, me and his dad's voice, we said, "I love you." And we would play his teddy bear and he would kick his little feet. And then my teddy bear had his heartbeat on it.
Today, I'm sharing the story behind Evan's Monumental Gifts, a 501c3 organization funded primarily through donations and fundraising. Their mission is rooted in love, remembrance, and making sure that no child is ever forgotten. The pain of losing a child does not go away, but through this organization, families are given something lasting, a way to honor their children's name and memory forever. Whether it's through a personalized basic stone or support toward a custom design, this is Evan's Monumental Gifts. My conversation with Kiara is about grief, but also about legacy, compassion, and the quiet, powerful ways people show up for one another in the darkest moments. How one mother decided she was going to keep her son's spirit alive by helping others through their own tragedy. I am sitting here today with Kiara Stoddard. She is the mother of Evan and the co-founder and president of Evan's Monumental Gifts, a cause close to her heart. Born and raised in Newcastle, PA, she now resides in Chewton with her family. With a background in business and years of experience as a medical administration specialist, Kiara combines her skills with her passion for helping others. Her dedication to charity work, particularly in memory of Evan, extends beyond the organization. She has also volunteered as an advocate for children with special needs. While she's not working to support grieving families, Kiara enjoys genealogy research, nature photography, reading, and exploring history. She loves to travel, experiment in the kitchen, and connect with new people. But above all, Kiara finds purpose in making a difference. Her favorite part of running Evan's Monumental Gifts is knowing that families have a little less to carry in their time of loss. She also loves organizing fundraising events, bringing communities together for a meaningful cause. Welcome.
Hi.
Hi. Thank you for being here. It's so nice to meet you in person. We've had a few Zoom calls and talked. I'm not sure who it was exactly, but someone on Facebook, and this is what I love about social media, is how it does connect us. A lot of times people look at social media as a negative. I always try to see the positive in social media. And what it did was connect us. Someone had brought attention to your organization. Immediately, I didn't even hesitate. I think I sent you a message and you wrote back right away, and here we are. But telling your story is important because there are a lot of grieving families out there who don't know how they're going to do something which might seem simple to someone else, but has a lot of purpose and a lot of meaning. To have a headstone, to have a monument for your child, to be able to go there, to grieve, to celebrate their life, it's important for people to have that. And that was one of the things that you found as a challenge when Evan passed away.
It was.
I think the hardest thing about your story, and I can tell that it feels like a heavy day for you. Yeah. The hardest thing about your story was you knew at a certain point in your pregnancy that Evan probably wasn't going to survive. And that was a challenge in itself. And we discussed that in depth personally between us, that will stay between us. You did make the choice not to share that with a lot of people because you needed to just continue forging forward and holding on to hope, right?
Yeah.
And you were fortunate to hold Evan.
Yep, that was very important to us.
It was very important to you to hold your child, and he survived for a week, yes? And then he did pass away. You created Evan's Monumental Gifts, and you said your favorite part of running it is organizing fundraising events and bringing communities together. You have a lot of amazing events coming up to support people, especially in grief, which is something you have gotten into, helping support people through grief. So let's just start, first of all, when you think about the moment that you found out that you were pregnant, and a lot of this is going to be hard, and for anyone listening, it's going to be hard. When you found out that you were pregnant after losing Evan, I just want to go there with your daughter, Sarah, who is here today, who I just met. What was that like, having gone through an experience and losing a child?
Oh, it was awful. Because you just don't know. You don't. It's like you have that anxiety.
Mm-hmm.
Like, is something going to be wrong with this child, And then even when the doctors tell you that nothing's wrong, you don't believe them. But we did make it.
What was the support like with that second pregnancy? What was it like?
My family wasn't really that supportive. But my friends definitely were behind me, and they were encouraging me the whole time. And they were saying, just believe the doctors. The doctors know what they're talking about. They say that this baby will be okay.
And that's one of the biggest messages you had was after you lost Evan, there was a period of 6 months. You got pregnant 6 months after losing him. And I have a friend who lost a child. Her daughter was stillborn at 8 months. And that was one of the things they said, and we know that you're grieving. And her story, when she shared her story with me, my friend Brittany, hearing what she went through and then seeing her now. And I knew her before that. So I knew her before that. And then seeing her after with her 2 children now and the happiness and the joy in their life, but how they continue to honor Hazel. And they found the way to do that, like you have with Evan. However, one of the biggest things for you that you said when you were going through those 6 months where you were just grieving awfully, you felt as if you couldn't even get better physically. It's like you were always sick. You still had that support from your doctor. Your doctor understood
Absolutely.
what you were going through and how important that is in itself, right?
Yeah, my doctor, he was just wonderful. Like, he never made me feel like I was crazy. Dr. Resk. I don't know. I would go in there and I would say, I'm having a heart attack. Obviously, I was not having a heart attack, but I just felt like I was dying because of just all the, the intense grief.
Yeah.
He was just so patient with me. And that's so important to have, medical professionals that are supportive of grief.
Yes. You were given a bereavement doula. I think it's wonderful to discuss that and what that means, because they had told you before Evan was born, they were expecting him to be stillborn, and they wanted you to be prepared for that moment, right?
Yes.
Having someone who has had lived experience in a situation like this that happens more than I think people are aware of is so important. You have now kind of stepped into that role. You started volunteering with Tears Foundation, the Tears Foundation. So talk about that and what it was when it just kind of clicked that that's what you needed to be doing in your moment of grief.
I had just found out I was pregnant again, and that was just a big surge of emotion for me. I just was lost. And I had seen an advertisement online that the PA Tears Foundation, they were looking for people to help run different, they were looking for peer support group leaders. And I was like, well, maybe this is something I can do. Someone that lost a child that can help other families that have lost a child, just to, help them through their grief. And I'm like, well, maybe it's a little bit early, but it's not. I need to refocus myself. I need to find something to throw myself into so that I'm not thinking I'm dying every day, and that's what I chose to do. I took their course. They had a course that they offered to teach you how to run the support group. And then I ended up volunteering with them. They do like remembrance walks, and I ended up hosting a candlelight vigil for them. And I had like different smaller events for them. And it's something that really helped me. I realized that helping to volunteer was something that it gave me another sense of purpose. You know, helping others and throwing myself into that. It made me feel like Evan's life had meaning.
Yes, absolutely. So what challenges did you face when you decided to start this nonprofit in the middle of your grief?
Yeah. At first, I was just, I was helping the Tears Foundation. And then I was like, well, I would like to do some things on my own. How can I help that people aren't already doing in our area?
Mm-hmm.
And I figured out there wasn't an organization specifically for headstones. So that's the route I chose to go.
Because the cost of an average headstone can be anywhere from $1,000. You said $2,500.
Oh, even more. Evans was about $3,500, but it's a very nice stone.
Yeah.
If you get, the more fancy you get for a stone, the more you have to pay.
Mm-hmm.
But, on average, even just for a basic marker with just a child's name on it, it's about $1,000.
Yes. And that can be detrimental to a family who has already gone through this loss. And I'm sure there's hospital bills, right?
Yeah.
You were in the hospital. You did give birth to him.
He was in the hospital the whole time. And then we were going to transfer him to Children's, but he was in McGee, in the NICU at McGee.
And that's where he passed.
Yeah.
On the surface, people might think it's just a headstone. And I don't mean that in an insensitive way, but that sometimes is a thought process. But what does it really mean for a family to have one? I know what it means for a family to have one. I know what that means to go visit that. But for a child especially, what did it mean to these families when you're talking to them and you're giving them something that they didn't think they'd have?
Your child is gone. Just even to see your child's name on a marker that you can visit when you're having an intense day of grief. Mm-hmm. And you go to that cemetery, you see the plaque from, the funeral home. And then you realize that you can't afford a marker, and you get just that depression, like, oh, I can't afford a marker. It helped me when we were able to finally get that headstone there.
Yeah.
I feel like it's meaningful. Just even to see their name on a stone, it means a lot to a family that's lost a child.
So far, you've helped quite a few families.
Yes.
I know on your website you have a page with testimonials, different headstones, like how people can donate. But the testimonials in itself, a lot of people really praise you. There was one parent here where they talked about their 3-year-old daughter passing unexpectedly, overwhelmed, but also blessed at the same time, like all those feelings. I can imagine that helping people, especially with something that you have gone through, can be rewarding, but also very just like, wow. It reminds you why you're doing it.
Yeah, sometimes it's heavy, but then I feel Evan, he was here for a reason. He was only here for a week, but in that week he's touched hundreds of lives. He's made a difference.
Do you still talk to him?
Yeah, I do.
What do you say?
I tell him about, the things that are going on. Mm-hmm. He's still very much a part of our family.
I love that. I really do. I think that's really special. And it's a very, very important message for people, because I do think that our spirits absolutely live on, and they are around us. I do believe in guardian angels. What has surprised you the most about the need for this in our community?
The volume of people that have needed headstones. I think 30, no, there's more now. 42 headstones we've purchased.
And you're covering
Beaver, Butler, Mercer, Lawrence, and Allegheny.
Oh, wow.
At least for now. And then we want to expand when we're doing a lot better with fundraising, and, we'll expand to the whole state is my goal, to be able to help everybody.
Well, yes, that obviously is the main goal. Do you, why do you think so many people don't realize that this need exists. That was something that you made a point of. You were looking to see where's the need, and you found it. And it's wild to me. Like, even when I heard about it, I thought, I would have never thought about
It's
that.
only been a few years and we've bought this many headstones. If you think about it like that, people really don't think that this is a need, and it's a need.
Yes, it absolutely is. How do you take care of yourself while holding space for so many grieving families?
I definitely lean on my friends for support when I need to.
Now, you talked about photography. I gather that you like to be outside then with that.
Absolutely. I like to go for hikes when we get to nice weather.
Yes.
My friend Emily and me just went for a nice hike on Sunday when we had that 70-degree day.
Yeah, when we had a warm day and then it got cold
yes.
the next day. Yeah.
We hiked for miles. We had a really good day that day. We took lots of pictures. That's the kind of stuff I do for self-care. We'll just go for a walk, and I spend a lot of time with my children. That's important to me too. Me and my daughter are very close.
I know. I saw that she was crocheting out there.
Oh, she's a sweet little thing.
Yeah, she looks sweet. Well, what do they say? The apple doesn't fall far from the tree.
Oh, thank you.
What do you wish people understood about child loss that they often don't?
Oh my goodness, you will never move on. I hate it when people will tell you. Like, everybody has their little comments that they make, and they will say, people that don't know anything about child loss, you'll get the little remarks. Like, they think it has a time limit, and you'll never move on. I will never forget my son. I've gotten so many remarks over the years. Like, people would make little comments like, oh, you can have another child. No, I can have another child, but that's not going to replace my son. They'll be
and
like,
you did. You did have another child.
It didn't replace Evan. I would get the remarks like, oh, isn't it time that you've refocused your energy? And I did, but I did not move on from my son. You will never, ever forget your child. Even if I say you settle into a new normal. You don't necessarily move on. It's just a new normal of living with that hole in your heart.
It's always amazed me that people find it necessary to bring like a negativity to something, or judgment to something. Judgment's probably the biggest thing that I struggle with personally from others. And I'll say this, especially people who practice Christianity and go to church, and one of their first things is a judgment. And it's interesting to me, because are they really learning the lessons? Because the number one lesson is that there's only one person that can judge us at the end of this. And we're all going to be judgmental of ourselves. I think every human that walks this planet is judgmental of themselves. We all do that, right? We don't need it from other people. But why, when you're doing something so positive? What you're doing is a positive thing. You are taking a really, really traumatic experience that you had in losing a child, and you're like, I'm going to take this and I'm going to do something positive with it to continue. So I really commend you for that and speaking out against that. That's a lesson for anyone. So with that, what are your hopes for the future of Evans Monumentals? You've already said you'd love this to be a statewide.
Yes.
A statewide. It's a nonprofit. It's a 501c3. And with that, obviously would it be a matter of having, a location in every county in the state, continuing to expand that?
I don't know, maybe having more connections in different parts of the state to where, because we have certain monument companies that we work with now, and different people that help us out now. If we had in different areas of the state, and we definitely need more funding.
Yes.
To be able to continue to do that. Then we could expand.
Even people who are proficient in writing grants that would be willing to donate time. Grants are huge. And a lot of times those can come just by knowing the right people. But oftentimes they can come from just getting in with having someone really guide you in that. So that's a huge goal that I have. I've been in the business of studying grants for the last year. It was never something I ever had on my to-do list until we started doing it here. So I understand that's a huge need for sure.
So we could help a lot more people that way. You know, I would love to be able to help anyone that needs our help, you know, because I know how that feels.
Well, it would be nice to be able to have that money in the bank. So when people call, you know, like every month what your budget is, and you're able to be like, yes, 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 yes. And I think even like expanding on sharing those stories and how you do that. Imagine how your platform could grow in that way, and how that can even bring more sponsorships in, or funding, or grants. So someone that's listening, right? We have a lot of different things that we talk about. Obviously, money is a huge impact. So that's the biggest impact right now. If you were to list anything else, we were just talking about an event that you are hosting in April. I'm going to give all the details of that at the end of this, but it is grief support, gifts for grief support. And one thing that you talked about was needing starter plants, planting soil in pots. I mean, if everyone that was listening even sent like 2 of each of those things, right? We could probably get you more than what you need, and then you could have more for the next event. That's my hope. But other than that, what would be other things? Get more volunteers, right?
Yeah.
What else can we think of? What else would be beneficial for you? Any other in-kind donations that would help?
Definitely crafting supplies.
Okay.
Because we'll be, for our carnival event in August, we'll be having like a craft station set up, decorations for that event. We can always use those.
Yep.
More towards that event, we could use like volunteers for like a clown. You know, we could definitely use a clown. If we have anyone listening.
Yes, anyone a clown out there? I mean, I'm a bit of a clown, but I don't clown. If that makes sense. You said, are you going to have a balloon person, a balloon artist?
We would love to have a balloon artist.
A balloon artist. So
face paints.
And that's, when is that again? August
22nd.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. That's a Saturday.
Yep.
Okay.
It's at Ewing Park in Elwood.
Yes. From 12 to
6.
6. Okay. You know, all of these events, I love that you're having a carnival. You've participated in parades, right? Didn't you send me some of the stuff you've sent me, just bringing awareness? Because, you know, when you go to a parade and you see someone walking down the street and they have a banner and you're like, oh, I wonder what that is. And I oftentimes will go on my phone and look. You're having this grief support evening, which I will give more details on. That is April 14th. That's coming up very soon. But what else? What other kind of events that we haven't discussed just now?
I am helping with an event on May 30th. I'll have to send you that flyer. Okay. It's a community day in Newcastle for one of my families that I helped, who her son was lost to gun violence, and she chose to have a community day in his honor.
Oh, wow. See, here's the thing, right? You're helping families who lose children, and it's not just what you experienced. It's not just stillbirth or a child that is born and passes. It's this woman that had her daughter unexpectedly pass. There's all of these different ways that these parents are losing their children.
Every way you can think of. Like, and I don't give up on my families. Many of these families, we become friends after. You know, if they need support, I'm always there.
Mm-hmm. And you do have a Facebook group as well. Yes. A good way to connect. So how has this work that you've been doing changed you, not only as a mother, but also as a person?
Well, I definitely have a lot of empathy for lots of different situations. Like, there's just so many things, so many different people I've talked to. And I guess when you say change me as a person, I think that I was a lot more introverted. You know, like, I cannot say.
You did say that.
Like, just even talking to me 5 years ago, thinking that I'm hosting a very large event. No, nobody would say I could ever do that. But for Evan and for helping other people, I'm able to do those things.
Yeah, you were forced.
Yeah, but I enjoy it now. You know, I really do. Mm-hmm. I look forward to all the events that we have.
One thing that my friend Brittany shared with me is that she loves talking about Hazel, and Hazel was stillborn. And that week that you spent with Evan, what's something that you could share about a moment that you had with him?
Oh, it was just, we would go every day and we would get just a brief, like an hour to hold him. They would pick him up. He was attached to so many machines, and it would take a team to put him in my arms for me to be able to hold him without, like, disrupting his machines. We had teddy bears. We had twin teddy bears. One was mine and one was his. And his teddy bear had my daughter's voice when she'd said, "I love you, Evan." And then, me and his dad's voice, we said, "I love you." And we would play his teddy bear and he would kick his little feet. And then my teddy bear had his heartbeat on it. And I still have my teddy bear at home. And he was buried with his teddy bear.
Oh, my goodness.
But we would hold his teddy bear and touch his face with it, read stories to him during his hour, sing songs, play music to him. Family would come and visit. We had his grandparents would come. My daughter would come. I have the most precious video ever of my daughter reading him a story.
Oh.
And he was kicking his little feet because he recognized her voice, I believe. Stuff like that. Not for a second do I regret meeting Evan, because this, I'll remember that the rest of my life. That week was, very important to me.
Well, you did have to keep this very close to your heart, what was happening.
Yeah.
And you switched doctors, didn't you?
Oh, man.
Many times. And something that I want to preface this with, right? And I did ask you this, and there's a lot that we're not going to discuss because it's nobody's business.
Yeah.
Whenever it came to sharing with people outside of just you and your internal family, you chose not to share a lot of what was going on with him, and that the doctors were saying he's not going to survive.
Yeah.
I think so often, again, here's where we come into judgment from other people. So many people can say, well, if it were me, well, it's not you.
Mm.
It's not you. It's not your body. It's not your life. It's not your choice. It's not something that you have to live with. And when you just now talked about him being able to have his heartbeat, being able to have that in a teddy bear, being able to have, that experience of holding him and spending time with him and having those memories, you wouldn't have had that, right?
Mm.
But who's to say that if you had made a different choice, that we'd even be sitting here talking right now, that you'd even be doing what you're doing right now?
Mm.
And something I just want to say, and I don't know if you have anything that you'd like to say on this, is that we need to really start as like society and just humans overall is supporting people in their time of need, in their time of grief, and in hard moments, and really allowing people to live their lives the way that it feels like most true to them. And I really commend you for making that decision. I can't imagine how hard that had to have been, because I'm the type of person that if something is really weighing heavy on me, I've got to talk about it. I've got it. And it's not so much to talk to get advice, but it's to talk to get myself through it, to figure out what the next step is. What would you say to someone that might be in your position, the position that you were in right now?
Honestly, I became the person I am because I don't want anyone to feel the way that I felt. I felt like I could not talk to anybody. I felt like the whole world was judging me and would have said something negative to me. Mm-hmm. I don't want anyone to feel that way. I want people to know that they have, there are resources out there. Even me, they can reach out to me. My email's on our page. If somebody needs support in a situation like ours, I'm available. I'm available to support someone through this. It was awful.
Yeah. And it shouldn't have been that way. You shouldn't have. No one should have to feel like they can't talk about what they're going through. No one should feel that way.
No, because, even the doctors were very pushy, and just like what we said, we should be able to live our lives the way that we see fit. Mm-hmm. And I never regret the amount of time we got to spend with Evan. Mm-hmm. But it could have not went that way. The doctors could have been right. Yeah. And even if he was stillborn, I feel like I would have been okay with that because, we mentally prepared ourselves the best way that we could. It was just very tough all the way around.
Of course. I trust in the science and I trust in the doctors right? But it ultimately is this, there is something that you already had, that mother's intuition. You already had this instinct inside of you. And again, I truly believe, like, if you had made another decision, and again, I don't have any judgment. I really don't. Because I have a friend who went through something like that, and she did make the choice after seeing specialist after specialist. And when she shared it, she was devastated. She was devastated. I just felt her devastation. I felt her sadness. I felt her pain. I felt all of these things. And I just thought, I just feel terrible that she's going through this. And that was it. That was my opinion of the situation.
It's hard. And then
it is hard.
You can't judge another mom, because it's like they make the decision with the information that they're given.
Yes.
And, you know, sometimes people make a different choice than what you'll make.
Yes.
And, you know, that's tough.
But I really, honestly, truly, Kiara, I just think like I think you're stronger. I hope you realize how strong you are, but you're very strong and you're making big things happen. And I really just admire you for everything that you're doing, and hope that these episodes coming out, which, while they can be hard to listen to, they are necessary. And for anyone who's a parent or who has wanted to be a parent, or even me, I'm an aunt, right? You would do anything, right, for your children. You would do anything for your family. And the last thing I want to ask you is that if you could say something directly to a parent who has just lost a child, what would it be?
Well, you're not alone. You know, they're 1 in 4. You know, they're 1 in 4. You even think about how many people that truly is. And a lot of people just do not talk about child loss.
Yep.
And if you really think about how many people just in the past couple of years that I've helped with headstones, you know, you are not alone. You know, if you need support, it's out there. Maybe we can even get a list going of the different support that's available in our area. You know, you can reach out for help, and it's okay to ask for help. You know, you don't have to fight it alone if you start feeling like you need support. You definitely don't listen to the voices telling you that you have to move on, because you're not going to move on. You'll just settle into your new normal. You know, I guess you have that big hole in your heart, and it just, you grow around it, sort of. I guess that's how I would explain it. You never just move on.
Absolutely.
And that's okay. You know, people just, they'll judge because they don't understand. But people don't do that to me anymore, you know, because
you're like, not today.
They've learned. I mean, they've gotten enough sass out of me that they've just learned over the years. Nobody says anything anymore.
Well, because it's your story. You experienced it. You're still experiencing it. And I truly, thank you for saying that. I will never understand why you would tell someone to get over something that
all the time
has made such a profound impact on your life. It's caused this ripple effect in a positive way. It's like, how can't they see? Why would you stop talking about it or thinking about it? And when you really understand grief, I said this briefly, there was an episode a few weeks ago I did with my friend Ashlyn. She works in end-of-life care. She goes to people's homes. She's a social worker. And we talked about the 5 stages of grief. They don't go in order. And sometimes you go back. Sometimes you go back to that anger. Sometimes you go back to that. You'll have days where it could be anything, right? The reminder of the day he was born. And then you have a week of his loss.
I do. And then holidays, you know, we didn't touch on the toy drive and stuff like that. Like, I have, you know, those days, Christmas is a tough day for me. For some reason, certain holidays I have a hard time. The toy drive that I do every year is because Christmas was so hard for me that first Christmas. And we chose to, after that first Christmas without Evan was especially tough because I did not know how to handle my grief. I just went and bought a bunch of toys and I threw them in the snow at the cemetery. And then that second year, instead of doing that, we chose to donate those toys. And then every year it grew bigger and bigger. And we had more and more stores participating in the toy donation. And then last year, I think we had maybe 60 stores that had toy drive donation bins. And we were able to make a pretty big impact in the amount of children we were able to help in Evan's name at Christmas time. So, I mean, that was something that was important to me because Christmas was just such a hard holiday without Evan.
Well, you lost him shortly after the new year.
Yeah.
He passed in January in 2019. And what we didn't discuss was the extra chromosome that he had. So he had, I can't say it,
holoprosencephaly.
Oh my goodness.
That was his brain didn't separate properly.
Okay. So after that genetic testing, they realized there was that extra chromosome number 13. And I see this little photo of him with his little bow tie on.
Yeah. That was the sweetest thing.
I'm sorry that you had to go through this. And I really commend you for making a difference. You have your annual toy drive. You also make baskets for babies in the NICU.
We do that because that was something that was special to me. When we were in the hospital, we had gifts brought to us every day. People that would make things, like that.
Oh, wow.
And at McGee, we would get gifts like that. People brought care packages. And it was so kind to me that I felt like I wanted to do it as well.
Yes. Paying it forward.
And then we would put little cards in there that said in memory of Evan in our baskets. We did that even before we started, doing Evan's Monumental gifts. We would make the little baskets and we'd have them. We would send them to the hospital. And then they stopped accepting them, after COVID.
Yeah. A lot of things changed then.
So we have a request form on our website. If somebody wants to request a basket for a child in the hospital, then we'll send one to them.
Thank you. Thank you for being here with me for this deeply important conversation. If this episode resonates with you, whether through your own experience or someone you love, please know you are not alone. Grief, especially after the loss of a child, is something that stays, but connection and remembrance can bring moments of comfort along the way. Evan's Monumental Gifts continues to do this work through the support of donations and fundraising as a 501c3 organization, holding events to support people through their grief, as well as a carnival. They provide families with a personalized memorial stone or help fund a design that reflects the life and love of a child gone too soon. If you feel called to support their mission or learn more about their events, please, I encourage you to do so. Please visit www.evansmonumentalgifts.com to support their efforts in helping families honor their children. And if you came to this episode because you are grieving, I am so very sorry. Take care of yourself after listening. Step away if you need to. And as always, thank you for spending time with me. Thank you for tuning in to Alter Eagle. Join me every Wednesday for a new episode, and be sure to click subscribe so you don't miss a single episode. Follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Alter Eagle Podcast. Until next time, stay safe, stay hopeful, stay kind.